Hello and welcome to episode 67 of the Meet the Farmers podcast. Although it rather feels like episode 1 all over again really, as this is a brand new format and we have brand new music, which is what you heard just now, which is all thanks to the brilliant Ben Porteous-Butler. I really want to thank Ben for that music and all the jingles as well throughout the new show. If you haven't listened to the show before, my name's Ben Eagle and I've been making this podcast for about 3.5 years or so. I can't believe it's been that long, but it has. Firstly, thank you so much for listening. I honestly really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. There are loads of episodes to look back on, all featuring some really inspiring people within the world of farming. So on whatever platform you're listening to, if you just have a look back through all those episodes, there's loads of interesting stuff there, so dive into that. I want to thank all my previous guests, and I'm really looking forward to welcoming some of them back on the show in future episodes. You're really welcome, guys, at any time. I also want to thank the Chadacre Agricultural Trust and the Mercer Family Charitable Foundation, who have both supported the podcast over this past year. Please do like and subscribe to the podcast. That way you'll never miss another episode. Monday morning at 9 a.m. will be the regular launch time for new episodes. So you can tune in then, or you can, of course, just listen at any time during the week. That's one of the great things about podcasts. So who am I and why do I make this show? Well, I have a family farming background, and my dad is a fourth generation farmer on the Essex coast here in the UK. It's a beautiful area. It's one of the driest parts of the country as well, which makes things interesting, although it's certainly been pretty wet this winter, like everywhere else. When I was growing up, the farm was a dairy farm, but the cows were sold when I was about 12 or 13. Most of the machinery was sold, the arable operations were contracted out, and back then, really through my teenage years, I personally rather turned my back on farming because, well, I didn't really see any prospect here, and it had a huge impact on my childhood, certainly. However, it's funny how life changes, and through a rather roundabout route, including some roles in the conservation sector, I really rediscovered my passion for this amazing industry and for the incredible people in it. After a brief time living in Norfolk and the West Country and doing small stints volunteering on farms in various parts of the country, I came back to the family business here in Essex a few years ago. When a farm goes through any sort of change, it takes time to recover, and I suppose in some ways we're still going through that process. The 350 odd acres of arable cropping is contracted to Frinton Farm Partners. There we are, Sam, I'll give you a shout out. And the remaining marshes and permanent grass on the farm is under various conservation schemes, HLS and countryside stewardship. If you don't know what that means, listen to previous episodes, or I'm sure we'll cover it in future episodes as well. We grow a niche crop called sea buckthorn on the farm on about 15 acres of land or so, and we've also been looking into tourism ventures to diversify the business further. And there's let buildings on the farm as well. There's other things going on as well. But like many farms, our focus is not just on producing food, also maintaining a healthy environment, and that's a big passion of mine, and engaging with the community as well. Sometimes I think I have too many projects on the go, and there's only so much you can do. But certainly with the farm hat on, this is a long game, and I'm really passionate about making it work. One of the great things about doing the podcast is that it's enabled me to go out and meet really inspiring farmers and rural business owners and try and learn from them. I have a real passion for showcasing the really amazing stories that people in the British countryside can tell, especially farmers. It's an incredibly diverse world, the world of farming, and it's full of hard-working, passionate people who care immensely about what they do. So Meet the Farmers, the podcast, is all about having conversations about food, farming, conservation and the countryside, and bringing our farmers and you guys, the public, closer together. It grew out of my Thinking Country blog, which if you're interested you can find that over at thinkingcountry.com. So that's enough about me. Let's see what we've got coming up on the show today. Well, I'm thrilled that today we'll be speaking to a few old faces from the show in the past, catching up with them about what's going on with them and on their farms. I'll then also introduce you to one of the new features on the show, which I have no idea how that's going to work. It's going to involve a bit of audience participation. Yes, we'll be playing Guess the Crop. First, though, let's look at some farming news and what's been happening in the farming world over the past week. Yes, this is the part of the show where we look back on a couple or a few key news stories that are impacting on the farming world right now. Clearly headlining at the moment is coronavirus and its wider impact. I really hope, by the way, that you and your friends and family are safe and well and that you're doing okay at the moment. It's just a really strange time. It's a really, really difficult time. A very challenging time, a horrible time for anyone who has been directly impacted. It's here in North Essex. It still seems to be. It seems like we've got the worst stages to come, but it's still challenging. And we know that we all have to do all we can to support the NHS and to save lives. That is the most important thing. But corona is dominating the headlines. The weather, of course, you will have noticed, has been pretty dry recently. So arable farmers have been making the most of it after a wet autumn and winter. Really wet autumn and winter. It's been crazy. And they've been busy planting spring crops. Meanwhile, some dairy farmers have been hit badly by the closure of coffee shops and other food businesses. Plus anyone who's been spring calving at the moment, herds that are spring calving, they're going back into the parlour. The cows are going back into the parlour right now, so it couldn't really have hit at a worse time for them. And of course, it is a very picture. It's a very picture, but some processors have clearly been particularly badly hit, and this is likely to impact on some producers. Also in the countryside this week, you may have noticed that thousands have flocked to footpaths. And in my experience, also off the footpaths. Please stick to the footpaths, guys. Some farmers have been concerned about the increased risk of cross-infection from people who may be carrying corona, and especially at this time of year, farmers cannot risk getting it at all. So corona is still dominating the news, as I'm sure it will do over the coming weeks. That is the news for now. In the news! So, coming up now, on the line, hopefully, we have Anna Bryant, who was the first ever guest on the show back in 2016, and she joins us from Wiltshire.
Hello.
Hey, brilliant. Anna was actually the first ever guest on Meet the Farmers. You have that accolade, if that's the right word for it. 3.5 years ago. Can you imagine?
I know. Although I'm thinking, I feel like it was ages ago that I returned home to the family farm. So
yeah. So in 3.5 years, what sort of projects have you been doing? What's been going on?
Well, last time I spoke to you, I talked about the fact I was going to set up my education centre.
Yeah.
So I did that. I got funding from the Leader Fund.
Fantastic.
And that got, and I finished building that last September. So we moved in September, and I have an operational farm school. So we have kids from neighbouring schools that come for 1 day a week, and I have schools that come out for trips, and also schools that come and camp on our campsite and do like a residential trip and come do some farming at the same time. Brilliant. That's all really exciting. But it was all happening, obviously,
until the coronavirus happened.
Yes.
What a year!
I know.
What a year!
I know. Like we've been having farm school all throughout this unbelievably wet winter. It's been like hardcore wet. And just as the sun's coming out, and the kids would have absolutely loved it. So everything's getting born. We've got like lambs and calves and chicks and ducklings, and all the kids are stuck in their homes, not being able to come to farm school.
You're a very diversified farm business. You've got a huge amount going on the farm. How's Corona and lockdown impacting on your wider
Well,
parts of the
it's
business?
really weird, actually, really weird, because we have so many diversifications, and they've all just ground to a halt. So the campsite's shut. We have a cream teas cafe that's closed. We have a river swimming club that's shut. We have all the education I've just been talking about that's shut. We have a primary school on site that's closed. A glass hub that does workshops that's shut. An adult art school that's shut. Basically, it's all ground to a halt, and the only business that's continuing is farming.
The farm
It's
itself.
actually quite nice in some ways, because I returned home to the farm, thinking I was going to be a farmer, and found myself just like, whoa, being pulled in all these directions, trying to, trying to make money with all these different diversifications as well as farming.
Yep.
It's quite nice, really, to have a summer where I can actually concentrate on the farm.
Absolutely. So, what's going on the farm side of things at the moment?
Well, we just had a calf born at 4:30 this morning.
Very
A
exciting.
completely white one, so it's really cute. I'll send you a picture so you can put it on the. I don't know if you can add it to the podcast.
Yeah, okay, we can put it on the Facebook page.
And we've got 24 ducklings that are really, really cute. We've got all these chicks.
And of course, we've had a really wet winter, obviously, followed by an incredibly dry patch now. I take it you have lots of spring cropping happening this year, like many other people.
Yes, we've managed to get all our spring crops in, which is great. However, we now need the April showers, so we're a bit.
It would be nice.
Nervous that it's getting a bit dry. It's been crazy, really. It was just such a wet winter, and obviously so many winter crops we couldn't get in. So this dry patch was great, because all the fields dried up early enough so that we could get our spring crops in, but we need the rain now for the crops to germinate and grow.
A farmer is never happy.
I just went round. I know it is ridiculous. It's never right. But I've just went round all the crops yesterday, and they're just not growing because it's really dry, and we have had some really cold nights as well. So it's just kind of dry and cold at night. A lot of the oilseed rape was struggling anyway, what with flea beetle, and it was getting grazed by a lot of the deer and rabbits. And usually in spring it just starts to grow away quite quickly, but it doesn't seem to be able to get away because of so many different issues.
Well, Anna, thanks so much for coming on the first show back. It's been really, really good to catch up. And good luck for the year ahead.
Really good.
On.
Bye.
Oh, that was really good to have Anna on the show, especially as she was the first ever guest. And as a diversified farm, you can see just how some farm businesses their day-to-day has just really changed during this corona time. It's quite bizarre. Farming still goes on though. Next on the line, I'm really, really excited to have fellow podcaster from Rock and Roll Farming, Will Evans, who's in North Wales. How are you doing, Will?
Hi, Ben. Thank you very much for having me. It's lovely to speak to you again.
Oh, thanks for coming on. Honestly, how are things in the midst of Corona madness? Mostly spring work madness.
Yeah, I mean, on the farm, it's easy to forget that it's happening in a way because, as you said, we've been that busy with the spring work and the sun's been shining. So I've been pretty flat out on the tractor. So not really doing anything much differently than I would be doing usually. Yes, in that regard, it's been okay. Coronavirus, it's frightening, isn't it? It's
a funny old time.
Yeah, scary times. It is, and having obviously a huge effect on the farming industry right now.
Yeah. Of course, so Rock and Roll Farming is now back. I really enjoyed listening to the first episode, which was with Minette Batters, and you were talking about Corona on that.
Yeah, I mean, we had to, didn't we? Because it is dominant. Who would have thought, Ben, that a month or two ago anything would dominate conversation more than Brexit? I mean, it's kind of wild, isn't it? I said to Minette before the interview, you must, she spent the last sort of 3 years talking about Brexit every conversation, and now suddenly that's on the back burner, and it's all coronavirus. But yeah, it's having such a big effect on in businesses all across the UK. The land price has gone through the floor. A lot of extremely concerned dairy farmers right now, and I guess it's surprising in a way, because on one hand you see all these TV reports of food flying off the shelves and the supermarkets, struggling to keep up with demand, and yet a lot of wholesale food prices for farmers are dropping. So yeah, it's a very disconcerting and worrying time for farmers, I think. So it was good to have that chat with Minette, really, and hopefully get a bit of information out there for people that isn't all just sort of wild rumours,
Yeah, absolutely. But it's either way, it's brilliant to see your podcast back. Have you got any interesting things lined up for the show over the next few weeks? Who have you got coming on?
I tried to be as organised as you are with your podcast, Ben, and have
organised is a relative thing. Well,
you were a lot more organised with me, because as you know, mine is generally operated pretty seat of the pants, last minute interviews. So I thought, well, I will be really organised this time, and I'll have like 10 interviews in the bank, and then I can relax. I don't have to worry about sort of chasing people at the last minute in case there's any technical issues or things like that. But I haven't got any in the bank, and I did it all last minute, and I recorded with Minette last week and then got it out pretty quickly afterwards. But I did speak to Lydia Slack yesterday. She's next week's guest. Lydia has got an incredible story to tell, so really, really powerful stuff. So really good to speak to her, and I've got a list of people, so hopefully I'll get some of them sorted in the next week. And it won't be last minute, but that probably won't happen. But yes, I have got some really interesting guests, and it's really great to be back with it. I'm rested and got my enthusiasm back for it again. So yeah, it's lovely to be back with it.
Good, really, really pleased. And you're super busy over at Eat Farm now as well.
Yes, we have been. Like a lot of people now, we were sort of, when the coronavirus sort of stuff started and we realised sort of how serious it was potentially going to be, we had a chat there and sort of thought, well, we've got this platform, what can we do to be useful now and try and make a small difference? So we decided that because we were seeing a lot of reports about people worried about food supply, we would start a hashtag called Food Army, where we would try and encourage people to just share stories of how they're producing food at the moment, in an effort to reassure the public, I guess. It's not meant to be a kind of thank a farmer thing or anything like that. It's just sort of try to, as I say, to reassure people and that there will be food there. And then for people who are direct selling and things like that, small businesses that have been affected, if they use it as well, we can retweet stuff. And it's actually been really nice to see how just little things like that has helped people pick up extra customers and things like that, spread a bit of awareness, and people doing work with food banks and stuff. So it's just been really nice. I mean, it's not going to change the world, but it's just been a nice thing to do. And then next week we're launching something called Lockdown Learning. I say next week, but when this podcast
I was going to say this will be
we will have
last
launched
week.
It. Sorry, yes, I've just committed a cardinal podcasting sin there, Ben, haven't I? I should know better. But yes, but when this goes out, we will have launched Lockdown Learning on eatfarmnow.com. So hopefully that's to try and sort of provide parents, like struggling parents like me, who are trying to homeschool at the moment and keep their kids interested, with some good farming and food related educational content aimed at primary school children. And we'll have lots of activities and things they can do, and we'll have videos of lots of things from the farm and stuff like that. So again, it's just trying to find something we can do to help in a difficult situation, and try and do something positive, I guess.
In many ways, it feels like a long time ago now, given it's so dry at the moment. But you were underwater for a lot of the winter. It was not exactly the easiest winter. Just tell me about that.
No, and if I could swear on your podcast, I would, describing this winter. It's not been easy. 2019 was really difficult summer, obviously, as we all know, with the rain and everything. And then, it just didn't stop over the winter. We had so many floods here. I mean, we're a lowland farm, only 60 feet above sea level. and 2 farms, and the river runs through the 2. So we always get some level of flooding, but this winter was certainly something else in that regard. It was just the amount of floods we had. It seemed like we had a flood every 2 weeks. So we lost a lot of winter crops, a lot of damages to fences and habitat and hedges, and huge amount of debris and rubbish just strewn all over the field. So yes, I mean, it's not been easy. Cost us a lot of money, tens of thousands of pounds in lost crops, and we've had to resow a lot of them with spring crops. But it is what it is. The sun's shining now. We're feeling better about it. We're managing to get on. A lot of people had it worse. Didn't come into the house and buildings here. You saw a lot of people whose houses were flooded and things like that, which so terrible for them. So yes, it wasn't easy, and it has cost us a lot of money. But that's, you farm by a river. It does happen. Floods aren't new on the farm, and it's happened before, and it'll happen again. But yes, it's nice that spring is finally here and the sun is shining, to say the least.
Absolutely. Well, I know you're really busy and you've got a busy day ahead, but no, thanks so much for coming on the show again. I really appreciate it.
It's been great to speak to you, Ben, and I'm so pleased that Meet the Farmers is going to be weekly from now on. Really looking forward to hearing it in the new format.
Oh, cheers, Will. I'll chat to you soon.
Cheers, Ben. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye. That was brilliant to have Will on there. It's honestly really great to have rock and roll farming back on the podcast list. I strongly recommend you head over there, subscribe, and listen to some of Will's previous episodes. Though maybe wait until the end of this show first. Next up, I've got Ally Hunter-Blair on the line from a tractor cab in Herefordshire. Just having some technical difficulties with the line. I can see him, but I can't hear him. Ally, are you there? I don't even know if he can hear me.
Hello.
Yeah, that is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're there. Congratulations.
Can you? Oh my days! Technology. I'm supposed to be good at technology as well.
This is supposed to be your thing.
Yeah, it is supposed to be my thing, and clearly I'm doing brilliantly at it. How are you doing?
Oh, not bad considering everything. It's sort of adjusting to
Yeah,
the situation, and it's suddenly it's almost as if the winter didn't happen, and it's beyond dry now.
Yeah, it's slightly terrifying because we were forecast rain for Monday, and then now that's just disappeared.
Yeah.
And like you say, exactly. Like I'm just fertilising a barley field after sugar beet, where we pretty much got stuck with the sugar beet harvester, and then I nearly got stuck drilling it, and now it's like rock out there.
Yeah. So what are you up to at the moment?
So we've had the winter has just sort of disappeared on us, and as bad as it was, and the flooding that we've had we're almost in a situation where we're too dry, but I won't say it because the weather will change. But yeah, so we've done a lot of planted a lot of spring barley, had a lot of fail crops. So I'm at the moment just out fertilizer spreading and putting some nitrogen on our seed beds to try and get these little crops to grow.
Yeah, I've just been speaking to Will up in North Wales. He was underwater for most of the winter, and I think the entire world knows that you were underwater. You created a bit of a meteor storm.
Yeah, well, I went out because our farm underwater is, annoying, but quite impressive. It looks, you get 100 from our side, 150 acres, and then our neighbour's side, he's probably got another 200 acres. So you could put a drone across it, and it looks. And then I sort of had this thing. I really want to buy a new drone, a new Mavic, DJI Mavic, and I've got one of the old Phantoms. So I thought, well, if I just fly it low and hard, if it crashes, it's an excuse for a new drone. And if it doesn't crash, it'll look quite cool. And annoyingly, it flew beautifully and didn't crash. And then suddenly, the BBC got hold of it, and they're like vultures once they get hold of you. I must have had that Tuesday morning. I reckon I've got 12 different producers, all for the BBC, who have either text me, WhatsApp me, something like that. Hi, Ali, and then one would ring you, and you'd be like, "Yeah, I'm just actually doing BBC Breakfast." And they'd be like, "Oh, damn it, we can't use you anymore." And it was mad. It was absolutely mad. But they're all lovely, and if it had the flooding happen now, we wouldn't have got a word in edgeways. So it was quite nice to show. I suppose there's not often that farms get sympathy, and not that we deserve sympathy. We farm a floodplain, but it's quite nice to show that, there is an element of food production that is so weather dependent, that is quite scary. And then obviously now chuck Corona on top of it, and suddenly food production looks very important.
Yeah. Of course, you've become a dad since we last saw each other as well.
I have. Single-handedly, the best thing we've ever done. She is just, she's amazing. She is the most challenging. I can't believe how quickly she changes. But very lucky, and she's doing really well. Annie's doing amazingly, it's awesome. She's just awesome. Single-handedly the best thing we've ever done.
And just while you're on, what spring crops have you got in this year?
So we have got a lot of spring barley because all the river failed. So we've got, we normally grow about sort of 150-ish acres of spring barley. We've got 220 this year something crazy because everything failed, which slightly knackers my rotation going forward, but I'll work that one out in September. We've got some sugar beet that we'll start drilling tomorrow. And then my soya is having another crack this year because the wheat after it is phenomenal. So even if it might be my lost leader as a break crop, we're going to have another go this year. And if it does stay dry and comes a really sunny, and you're right that it's not going to rain till October, then actually soil will love that. That's the spring cropping for us. And then I've got some patches that I'm going to put some sunflowers in that are by roads and stuff, just to try and keep people jolly. They won't be in flower till September, but they're knackered wheat fields or knackered bits. So I'm just going to buy 2 hectares worth of sunflowers and plant them, so people, when they are allowed out, can drive past some flowers.
Awesome. Well, I know you're very busy, so I'll let you get on. But thanks for coming on the first episode of the new show, and hopefully we'll catch up as the weeks go on.
Brilliant, thank you, Ben. I look forward to listening to the new show.
Cheers, Ali. Have a great day.
Cheers, Ben. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye. It's honestly been such a privilege over the last few years to meet so many amazing people in the farming community. It's packed full of them, and you're all amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. Whenever I've come back from a visit, I've just been really inspired. So I want to thank all of my previous guests who have ever appeared on the show. We've dramatically run out of time, but before we go, I want to play a little game which is called Guess the Crop.
Time to guess the crop. Just tell me what the type of crop is.
Yes, it's time to guess the crop. I have no idea if this is going to work or not. I'm going to give you 3 clues, and then you have to contact me and tell me your answer. If you get it right, you may get a shout out in the next show, but more importantly, the person with the most correct answers by the end of the year will get a special prize posted to them. You can contact me by following Meet the Farmers on Twitter or Instagram. You can find that at MTF_podcast, and direct messaging me, or if you're not on social media, you can just email me your answer at thinkingcountry@gmail.com. So, today's mystery crop.
Time to guess the crop. Just tell me what the type of crop is.
So, we're going to start with a nice, simple one so that everyone can get a point on the board. Your clues are, number 1, it's a member of the grass family. Number 2, the grains of it are commonly made into malt and it's associated with beer. And number 3, it's a rich source of magnesium, which plays an important role in insulin production and our body's use of sugar. So message me your guess to get on the board, and I'll look forward to hearing from you. I really hope this works. That's it for today's show. I hope you've enjoyed the new format, and there's lots more to come over the coming weeks and months. Once again, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening so you don't miss another episode. You can follow the podcast and get involved on Twitter or Instagram at MTF_podcast. I'm Ben Eagle. This has been Meet the Farmers. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next week.